Namaste Bitya. Myself JVN Neha Saini from Physiotherapy and Diagnostics. Here I am going to tell you about the anatomy of the larynx. So, when we deglute any substance through the food pipe, how it enters into our food pipe. The step 1 is the tongue forces the compacted bolus into the oropharynx. Then the laryngeal movement folds epiglottis. Pharyngeal muscles push the bolus in the esophagus and the bolus moves along the esophagus. The larynx returns to the normal position. So, this is the larynx, the anterior posterior view of the larynx. This is the lateral view of the larynx, and these are the musculatures on the anterior side of the larynx. Now, the laryngeal anatomy. In the larynx, we have 9 cartilages, 3 are paired and 3 unpaired, 8 muscles, and ligaments. Larynx is a musculocartilaginous structure. It is lined with mucous membrane. It is connected to the superior part of the trachea and to the pharynx, inferior to the lung and the hyoid bone. It is essential sphincter guarding the entrance into the trachea, functioning secondarily as the organ of voice. It is formed by the 9 cartilages connected by ligaments and 8 muscles. So this is the oropharyngeal structure. These are the suprahyoid muscles and the infrahyoid muscles which are covering the larynx. Then the larynx inhale air leaves the pharynx by passing through the narrow opening, the glottis. Larynx begins at the level of C4 or C5 vertebrae and ends at the level of C7 vertebrae. It is essentially a cylindrical structure whose cartilaginous walls are stabilized by ligaments or skeletal muscles or both. So this is the larynx. Cartilages of the larynx are thyroid, cricoid, epiglottis. Thyroid and cricoid cartilages are hyaline and epiglottis is a elastic cartilage. So first we discuss about the thyroid cartilage. It is a shield-shaped cartilage. It has superior and the inferior horns. In the diagram we can see the superior and the inferior horns which are forming the upper and the lower edges. Inferior horns make the synovial hinge joint with the cricoid cartilage, and there is a midline laryngeal prominence which is known as Adam's apple, which is more prominent in case of males than females. The thyroid cartilage, it is the largest laryngeal cartilage. Thyroid means shield-shaped cartilage. It forms the most anterior and the lateral wall of the larynx. The thyroid cartilage, when viewed in sagittal section, it is incompletely posteriorly. The anterior surface of this cartilage bears a thick ridge which is known as laryngeal prominence, which is known as Adam's apple, as we have discussed in the previous slide. The inferior surface of the thyroid cartilage articulates with the cricoid and the superior. So ligamentous attachment to the epiglottis in smaller laryngeal cartilages. Then we have cricoid cartilage. So here in the diagram we can see below the thyroid cartilage, this is the cricoid cartilage. It is a complete ring of cartilage which is present all around the larynx, and it has a narrow anterior arch and broad posterior lamina. Cricoid means signet ring, and this is the lamina of the cricoid, and there is, and on the anterior side this is the arch of cricoid. Cricoid cartilage. The thyroid cartilage sits superior to the cricoid cartilage. Cricoid means the ring shaped cartilage. It is a complete ring as we have discussed earlier. They are both, the thyroid and the cricoid, both cartilages protect the glottis and the entrance to the trachea. They are broad surfaces provide sites for the attachment of important laryngeal muscles and the ligaments. Ligaments attach the inferior surface of the cricoid cartilage to the first cartilage of the trachea. The superior surface of the cricoid cartilage articulates with the arytenoid cartilages also. So here we can see the superior surfaces of the cricoid cartilage presents the facets. These facets are for the attachment or articulation with the arytenoid cartilages. And on the lateral side, there is a facet for articulation with the thyroid cartilage. Then we have epiglottis. It is a leaf-shaped cartilage posterior to the root of the tongue. We have highlighted this with green color, and it is connected to the body of hyoid and the posterior side of the thyroid cartilage. Epiglottis is an elastic cartilage It supports and it has ligamentous attachment to the anterior and the superior borders of the thyroid and the hyoid bone. So during swallowing, the larynx is elevated, the epiglottis folds backward on the glottis, preventing the entry of the liquids or the solid food into the respiratory passages. So here we can see the epiglottis, and it is connected to the thyroid cartilage with the help of this thyroepiglottic ligament. Then the paired laryngeal cartilages. The larynx also contains three pairs of small cartilages. These are arytenoid, corniculate, and cuneiform cartilages. Arytenoid and corniculate cartilages, these are hyaline in nature, and cuneiforms are elastic cartilages. So here we can see the arytenoid cartilages. These are pyramidal in shape, and they are above the lamina, and they have synovial joint with the cricoid. These permit swivel, that is rotatory movement, as well as sliding movement. Then we have corniculate cartilages, which are located above the arytenoid cartilages in the epiglottic fold. Then above that we have cuneiform cartilages. These are rod shaped and they are lying above the corniculate cartilages. So arytenoid cartilages, these are ladle shaped and they are articulate with the superior border of the cricoid cartilages. And corniculate cartilages, these are horn shaped, they articulate with the arytenoid cartilages. Corniculate and arytenoid cartilages play a role in opening and closing the glottis and production of the sound. Then we have some ligaments which hold the larynx, trachea, and hyoid together. These ligaments are thyrohyoid membrane. So this links the larynx with the hyoid bone. As the name indicates, thyrohyoid, and in the midline it forms the median thyrohyoid ligament, which is the thickened median part of this membrane. Then cricothyroid membrane, it links the thyroid to the cricoid, and it also possesses a median thickened band in the midline, which is known as median cricothyroid ligament. Then we have cricotracheal ligament, which connects the cricoid with the first tracheal ring. So as the name, that is the attachment of the membranes. Then there is a quadrangular membrane which links the arytenoid to the epiglottis. Then this is the thyroepiglottic ligament which connects the epiglottis with the thyroid cartilage. Then these laryngeal ligaments, these are the intrinsic ligaments. These bind all the 9 cartilages together to form the larynx. We have also extrinsic ligaments which attach the thyroid cartilages to the hyoid bone and to the cricoid cartilages with the trachea. These are vestibular ligaments and the vocal ligaments which extend between the thyroid cartilage and the arytenoid. These vestibular and the vocal ligaments are covered by folds of laryngeal epithelium, that is the mucosal epithelium, that projects into the epiglottis. The vestibular ligaments lie within the superior pair of the folds, and this is known as vestibular fold. So in the diagram we can see the vocal folds. These are erected when talking or singing for the production of sound. Then the laryngeal ligaments, vestibular folds, which are relatively inelastic, help to prevent the foreign objects from entering into the glottis and provide protection from more delicate vocal folds. So vestibular folds lies in the upper plane, and vocal folds are highly elastic because the vocal ligament is a band of elastic tissue. Vocal folds are involved with the production of sound, and for this reason they are known as true vocal cords. So true vocal cord is vocal fold, not vestibular fold. Because the vestibular folds play no important role in the sound production, they are often known as false vocal fold. So it is clear that the false vocal cord is vestibular fold. So in the diagram we have colored the false and the true vocal fold. True vocal fold is the vocal cords. Then we have highlighted over here the vestibule. Vestibule is the inlet above the false vocal folds, and the vestibular folds are overlie the vestibular ligament. Then we have the ventricle, which is the area between the true and the false vocal folds, and lateral extension is the laryngeal sinus. The vocal cords, that is the true vocal folds, they overlie the vocal ligaments. So in the upper plane we have vestibular, and in the vocal lower plane we have the vocal fold. So true vocal folds lies below and false vocal folds lies above. Remember this thing, this is very important. So in the diagram we can see the vocal folds. Then the functional ligaments are conus elasticus. Conus elasticus is the vibrating lips that arise from the entire upper edge of the arch of cricoid, and they are attached anterior to the thyroid and posterior to the arytenoid. In the diagram we can easily see the conus elasticus. And the vocal ligaments. Vocal ligaments, here we have discussed previous slide. Rima glottidis is the opening between the vocal ligaments. So the functions of the conus elasticus, first is the sound production. It vibrates the lips of the trumpet player. Then it also closes the rima glottidis, stops the outflow air, upward movement of the diaphragm when contracts abdominal muscle pressure, increases in the abdominal cavity. Especially it occurs when at the time of childbirth and defecation. So there are two functions of the conus elasticus. One is sound production and closing of the rima glottidis. Sound production. How sound is produced? Air is passing through the glottis, vibrates the vocal folds and produces the sound waves. The pitch of the sound produced depends on the diameter, length and tension in the vocal folds. The diameter and length are directly related to the size of the larynx. So in case of males, the sound is more because the size of the larynx is larger than females. The tension is controlled by the contraction of voluntary muscles that change the relative positions of the thyroid and the arytenoid cartilages. When the distance increases, the vocal fold tense and the pitch rises. When the distance decreases, the vocal folds relax and the pitch falls. So the children have the slender, short vocal folds and their voices tend to be highly pitched. At the puberty, the larynx of male enlarges and considerably more than that of female. So, the true vocal cords of an adult male are thicker and longer, and they produce lower tones than those of an adult female. The entire larynx is involved in sound production because its walls vibrate, creating a composite sound. Amplification and echoing of the sound occur within the pharynx and the oral cavity, nasal cavity, and the paranasal sinuses. The final production of distinct sound depends on the voluntary movements of the tongue, lips, and cheeks. So these are again the vocal folds adducted when talking or singing, and these are abducted at the time of normal respiration. So laryngeal musculature. So muscles of the larynx include two types, that is intrinsic and extrinsic muscles. Intrinsic laryngeal muscles have two major functions, that is they regulate the tension in the vocal folds, and second is opening and closing of the glottis. They are involved with the vocal folds insert upon the thyroid, arytenoid, and corniculate cartilages. Opening or closing of the glottis involves rotational movement of the arytenoid that move the vocal fold apart or together. So here we can see the changes in the rima glottidis opening and between the vocal ligaments. So posterior cricoarytenoid opens the rima glottidis, see in this diagram, and in the lateral cricoarytenoid muscle it closes the rima glottidis, and in the arytenoid muscle both parts of the rima glottidis they are adducted. Now in extrinsic muscles, these are the hyoid muscles, and they move whole of the larynx as in swallowing. So as you swallow, your larynx moves up and down because of the extrinsic muscles, and these are attached to the hyoid. Intrinsic muscles, they are lying within the larynx, and they change the tension in the vocal ligament, changes the pitch, increases the tension, raises the pitch, decreases the tension, lowers the pitch. Opening and closing of the rima glottidis. So these intrinsic muscles are cricothyroid muscle. It tenses the vocal ligament and increases the pitch. Cricothyroid muscle is highlighted in this diagram. This is the cricothyroid muscle. So here we can see the cricothyroid muscle. It increases and tenses the vocal cords. Then the second muscle is thyroarytenoid muscle. It relaxes the vocal ligaments and decreases the pitch. So it is the contraindicated to the cricothyroid muscle, thyroarytenoid. This thyroarytenoid muscle is known as vocalis muscle over here. It relaxes the vocal cords. Then the next third muscle is posterior cricoarytenoid. Here it is located. It is highlighted in the diagram on the posterior part, and it abducts the vocal fold. It is the abductor of the vocal fold. Fourth muscle is lateral cricoarytenoid. It is the adductor of the vocal folds. It causes the vocal fold to be in the midline. Then the fifth muscle is transverse and oblique arytenoid. These are again the adductor of the vocal folds. So in the diagram we can see the transverse arytenoid, oblique arytenoid and posterior cricoarytenoid. These muscles are very important for sound production. Then aryepiglottic muscle, it pulls the epiglottic downwards during swallowing and covers inlet of the larynx. It is not necessary in adult humans. Now the extrinsic muscles of the larynx. These muscles position and stabilizes the larynx. There are four muscles. These are sternohyoid, omohyoid, thyrohyoid and sternothyroid. So here we can see the extrinsic muscles which are the elevators and depressors of the larynx. Elevators are suprahyoid muscles, that is digastric, stylohyoid, mylohyoid, genohyoid, stylopharyngeus, salpingopharyngeus, palatopharyngeus and thyrohyoid. Depressors are all the infrahyoid muscles, that is sternohyoid, sternothyroid, omohyoid. So these muscles are shown in this diagram. So extrinsic depressors are sternothyroid, sternohyoid and thyrohyoid. These are again the elevators. Now the movements of the larynx. These are elevation, depression, as in the case of swallowing, opening of the laryngeal inlet, closing of the laryngeal inlet, abduction of the vocal cord, adduction of the vocal cord, tensor and the relaxer of the vocal cord. So in the diagram we can see all the movements of the vocal cords. The adduction is done by the arytenoid muscle, lateral cricoarytenoid muscle, and the abduction is done by the posterior cricoarytenoid. Posterior cricoarytenoid is also known as life-saving muscle because it is the abductor of the vocal cord. See, when the vocal cords are abducted, means they are away from each other, it will cause air to enter. So if they are adducted, the air is not entering into the larynx. So if this muscle is paralyzed, it will cause immediate death because of the loss of respiration. Movements of the vocal cords, as we can see in the diagram, rima glottidis has two parts, anterior 3/5 part, it is intramembranous part, and posterior 2/5 part is the intracartilaginous part. Intracartilaginous means in between the two cartilages. Here we have the arytenoid cartilage and this is the vocal cord. So these are the movements of the rima glottidis, the adduction and the abduction. Here again we can see the adduction and the abduction movement of the vocal cords and the muscles which are causing them. Here again the muscles and the position of the rima glottidis at the time of forced respiration, during normal expiration and whispering. Then the blood supply of the larynx. In the upper part it is supplied by the superior laryngeal branch of the superior thyroid artery. In the lower part it is supplied by the inferior laryngeal branch of the inferior thyroid artery, and lymphatic drainage is via deep cervical lymph nodes. Then the nerves, the motor nerves is recurrent laryngeal nerve, which are the branches of vagus nerve. Cricothyroid is supplied by the external laryngeal nerve. Sensory innervation of the larynx is supplied by the internal laryngeal nerve up to the level of the vocal fold, and recurrent laryngeal nerve below the level of the vocal fold. So these are the nerves which are supplying to the larynx. These are again the nerve supply to the larynx. Now come to the applied. First is the obstruction of the larynx. If there is obstruction in the larynx, we do the cricothyrotomy. Cricothyrotomy means the cutting of the cricothyroid membrane. In the obstruction of the larynx, we also open the airways because of the method known as tracheotomy. In the tracheotomy, we cut the trachea between the first and the second or third tracheal cartilages. So this is the tracheostomy. Then the second applied is the cancer in the vocal cord. So this is the diagrammatic representation which is representing the cancer in the vocal cord. Then larynx can be examined with the help of laryngoscope. This is the directly we use the laryngoscope for imaging the laryngeal inlet. Then laryngoscopy using the mirror. These are the vocal cord paralysis. When there is injury to the recurrent laryngeal nerve, it will cause the vocal cords in cadaveric position. Then in case of mediastinal tumor, recurrent laryngeal nerve is compressed, which causes hoarseness of voice. Then we have the pyriform fossa. Pyriform fossa is lying in the lateral wall of the larynx, and it is bounded medially by the aryepiglottic fold and laterally by the thyroid cartilage and the thyroid membrane. In the diagram we can see it is bounded medially by the aryepiglottic fold and laterally by the thyroepiglottis muscle. So this is the paraglottic space. It is the potential space present on either side of the glottis. It is bounded by the mucosa covering the lamina of thyroid cartilage lateral and conus elasticus and quadrangular membrane medially, and the anterior reflection of the pyriform fossa mucosa posteriorly. Then the teacher's note or singer's note. Over time, repeated abuse of the vocal cord result in soft swollen spots on each eye of the vocal cord. These are known as singer's node. Then the important questions as per this chapter, these are write short note on pyriform fossa. So in this you have to mention about the boundaries of the pyriform fossa and its clinical significance. Then write short note on thyroid cartilage, then intrinsic muscles of the larynx and their actions along with the movements of rima glottidis. In this you have to also draw the diagram for the movements of rima glottidis. Then this is the file work for you. You have to draw this diagram and label all the structures which are arrowed in this diagram. So this completes our topic, the larynx. Thank you.